The academic-industrial complex. Treason of the left. Esteemed fellow citizens of free thought and conscience, it is with a heavy heart that I take up my quill to address the grievous betrayal perpetrated by a certain leftist publisher who dares proclaim himself an absolutist in the defense of free speech, yet betrays that very virtue with cowardice and duplicity. Such contradictions between word and deed must be brought to light, for to be free in one's speech is not merely the liberty to speak convenient truths, but the sacred duty to uphold the rights of all voices, especially those that dissent, provoke, or challenge the prevailing orthodoxies of the time. This leftist publisher, whose name ought to be a watchword for liberty, has instead chosen the path of suppression, veiling his actions in the false cloak of discretion. He claims, under the guise of free speech, to be the protector of open discourse, yet when confronted with dissenting voices that by right and reason ought to be heard, he recoils in fear of what he calls fear of platforming. He censors with one hand while presenting the olive branch of free speech with the other, thus proving his words to be naught but hollow rhetoric. True free speech does not quiver at the prospect of controversy, nor does it shrink from the utterance of ideas that may unsettle the mind or disturb the comfortable dogmas of the day. Yet this leftist publisher, in the name of avoiding the platforming of dangerous views, has shown himself to be a warden of thought, seeking to curate only those expressions which align with his own inclinations, his own timid understanding of the world. What, pray tell, is this but the very tyrannical impulse which free speech was designed to thwart? To refuse the publication of views deemed disagreeable or dangerous is to engage in the very form of intellectual cowardice that our forefathers despised. It is the duty of every free citizen, and especially those in the business of words and ideas, to withstand the allure of censorship and to allow all ideas, however distasteful or contrary to popular sentiment, a fair hearing. To do otherwise is to silence the voice of opposition, which is the most precious voice of all in a society that would call itself free. Yet the hypocrisy runs deeper still, for this leftist publisher, while refusing to platform dissenting ideas, continues to support regimes that have perpetrated untold wrongs upon the world. He stands with tyrants and oppressors, backing their causes, publishing their defenses, even as evidence of their misdeeds mounts beyond all reasonable doubt. It is a betrayal not only of free speech, but of the very moral foundation upon which free society is built. When the atrocities of these regimes are known to all, when the blood of their victims cries out from the ground, how can this leftist publisher continue to profit by their defense? How can he justify his silence, or worse, his complicity? The answer lies in the base desire for profit, for the publishing of works that align with these regimes is not born out of principle, but out of the cold calculation of the merchant seeking to preserve his purse at the expense of his soul. In addition to his support of tyranny, this leftist publisher participates in the broader corruption of the academic-industrial complex, that foul institution wherein knowledge is no longer sought for its own sake, but rather twisted and manipulated to serve narrow interests. It is within this complex that ideas are cloaked in obscure, impenetrable jargon, what I shall call the Kabbalistic language of the academy, designed not to enlighten, but to confuse, to obfuscate, and to control. The leftist publisher, eager to profit from the prestige and power of this complex, prints works riddled with bias, works that are deliberately designed to support the very status quo that he claims to challenge. He knows that the confusion sowed by these works benefits him, for a confused populace is easier to control, easier to manipulate, and easier to profit from. Thus, he is not a liberator of thought, but a purveyor of bondage, ensuring that the people remain shackled by the very institutions they trust to inform and enlighten them. In proclaiming himself a free speech absolutist, this leftist publisher has erected a false idol. He speaks grandly of liberty but practices censorship. He defends the free exchange of ideas but does so selectively, silencing those who would challenge his views or the interests he represents. He claims to be a defender of truth, yet profits from the lies and deceptions of a corrupted academic establishment. He claims to fight tyranny, yet stands hand in hand with despots, publishing their propaganda while turning a blind eye to their crimes. What, then, is to be done? I call upon the free citizens of this Republic of Letters to reject this false idol, to demand a true and robust defense of free speech. Let all voices be heard, and let the marketplace of ideas decide which shall rise and which shall fall. Let us shun the profits of tyranny, and refuse to participate in the perpetuation of injustice. Let us seek clarity, not confusion, in our pursuit of knowledge, and hold to the highest standards of intellectual honesty and moral courage. In conclusion, we must not allow those who claim the mantle of free speech to sully its name with their hypocrisy. Free speech must be defended at all costs, for without it, we descend into tyranny. Let us stand firm in our principles and call out those who would betray them for the sake of profit and power. For in the words of Thomas Jefferson, the liberty of speaking and writing guards our other liberties. Let us not allow it to be so easily betrayed.